and welcome back to the Fit as Flock podcast. I am your host, Lindsey Bush, an online mindset, fitness, and nutrition coach. And this week, we will be talking about all things self-sabotage. So before we dive in, I wanted to share with you that this week's episode is sponsored by the Empowered Method. The Empowered Method is your 7-week weight loss solution and the last one you will ever need. Together, we will change your mind, change your body, and in turn, transform your life. To learn more, please visit theempoweredmethod.com. So with that, let's dive into today's topic. So self-sabotage is a topic that's really near and dear to my own heart because this is something that I have personally struggled with for a really long time. Not only do I struggle with it, but I've witnessed many of my clients struggling with it as well. As it has come up in some of our recent live coaching sessions, I thought, you know what? We probably aren't the only gals out there struggling with this. So I thought that we could talk about it here as a collective. So before we get into how to identify it and how to handle it, let's make sure that we really are all on the same page about what it really is. So sabotage is the act of destroying or undermining something, often in kind of like a covert or like, I don't want to say passive aggressive, but kind of passive aggressive manner. But you put the word self in front of it. So we're doing that to ourselves, right? Kind of a little bit self-destructive, guilty, right? Very guilty. So typically, self-sabotage comes in the form when you're on a fitness journey or a wellness journey or a weight loss journey. It comes in the form of things like procrastination, scrolling when we should be working out or sleeping, hitting the snooze button when we really know we're on a tight time crunch in the morning to get our workout in, something like that. I'm very guilty of this one in particular. Getting a case of the I deserve it. So we've been in it, you've been doing all the things, tracking your food, and you're actually starting to see progress. And then it's like, I've been doing all these things. I deserve a treat. I deserve a reward. I deserve that glass of wine, whatever it is. Whatever the vice is, right? And so that right there is a reason why I feel like it is so important that if you do embark on a weight loss or fitness related journey, that you're doing something that is sustainable and that you're doing something that allows you to indulge, have planned indulgences so that you're less tempted to engage in the I deserve it's behavior. Because it's kind of an easy trap to fall into. Loosening the reins on nutrition. That's another form of self-sabotage. That is the one that I probably struggle with the most. I'll see some progress and I'll actually be really happy about it. I'll be really excited about it. I'll be like, I'm good. I've got this. I know what I'm doing. And it's a snowball for me. Like it starts really small and then the snowball starts rolling down the hill. It gains momentum and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So that is a slippery slope for me personally. If you find yourself self-sabotaging in other ways different than the ones that I've shared, I would love to hear from you. It is super helpful for me to hear what you're struggling with. So reach out to me on Instagram, shoot me a message on Facebook. I'd love to hear what you're struggling with, and maybe it will prompt some ideas of ways that I might be able to help you. So please feel free to share that with me. So why do we do this? There's a couple reasons why we do this. So we're trying to escape uncomfortable feelings, right? Our brains want to keep us safe. So our brains are designed to maintain the status quo. They say, kind of in the neuroscience world, neurons that fire together, wire together. So you've created this neural pathway, this loop that your brain is very used to going on, around and around and around. Think of it like a well-worn path in your grass, or like when your dog runs up and down the fence line and they get that little, the trail back and forth in the grass. It's just like that in our brains. So more simply put, the brain likes to keep things familiar, status quo. We don't like change. Why don't we like change? Because now we're trying to fire on a different neural pathway. So the more we run a neural circuit in our brain, the stronger that circuit becomes. It's just a perfect example of why change is so hard for so many people. So we're trying to fight against our brain, which is challenging. So if this is something that you struggle with, I would like to ask you to give yourself a little bit of grace and know that it is difficult. Like what you're trying to break, the cycle and the circuit that you're trying to break is deeply ingrained. And so first and foremost, it's not going to be easy. So if you are trying to address self-sabotaging behaviors, please know that you're going to need to give yourself grace throughout the process. And if you're having a hard time, it's not because you're weak and it's not because you're a failure or any of those things. It's because truly what you are trying to do, the task that you are up against is a difficult one. Oftentimes, another reason that we engage in self-sabotaging behaviors is because we have negative self-talk or self-esteem. I most consistently see this happen, or most often see this happen with negative self-talk, but I also don't have people, readily sharing like I have low self-esteem. I mean, I do have many clients that share that with me, but most commonly this comes up and they say, they talk about their self-talk and it tends to run on a negative pattern, whatever that talk might look like. So the reason that I bring that up is because there are strategies that we can use to work around and to create new self-talk that's going to help us create new patterns to overcome some of these self-sabotaging behaviors. It's like, it's funny to me to talk about this because I'm like, why do we do these things to ourselves? Like, we know we're making things harder, but we do it anyway. And so this is the best explanation that I have that I could find based on my research and my experience, both with hundreds of women and myself. So what can we do about it? First and foremost, we have to identify it. You're going to have to catch yourself in the act. So you got to start identifying what's your self-sabotage style? What are your tendencies? So I've shared with you what mine tend to be. They tend to be, loosening the reins on nutrition. It's just, which isn't that big of a deal if it's like one day or if it's like one little thing, but it's never one little thing for me. It's just this, I just kind of start the slow roll down the hill until I just get all the way to the bottom, and now it's a big problem. So, and I'm going to share with you how I've started to interrupt that pattern. And then procrastination. So, avoidance of doing the things I know I need to do. Like, you need to make your weekly meal plan. But I'm just going to scroll here on Instagram. And then I'm going to complain about how I don't have any time to do that. But yet I just wasted 25 minutes looking at, the most random things ever. Things like that tend to get in my way. Those are the hurdles that I have to jump over. It's funny. I was talking to someone earlier this week and we were going through some coaching stuff, and I'm someone that I'll give tough love when you need it, but I really don't like to do it. It's not something that I enjoy. So I was telling this person, please don't make me give you tough love. And I said, when I am starting down that process of kind of having a tough love conversation, it often begins with, why are you standing in your own way? Why are you making things harder for yourself? Because that's the same thing with self-sabotage. Like, Lindsey, why are you doing this? Why are you standing in your own dang way? Move, get out the way. It doesn't need to be that way. So what can you do about it? First, we got to identify, right? Like, you can't address a problem until you know what it is and what it's there. So you have to start paying attention, being aware of the behaviors that you engage in. Then the most effective strategy that I have found to address, handle, attack self-sabotage is working on your self-talk and your self-coaching. So I recently did a podcast episode called The Most Important Skill I Learned on My Fitness Journey, and it's self-talk and self-coaching. If you have not listened to that episode and you struggle with self-sabotage, I would strongly encourage you to go listen to it. I share several little mindset tricks, like the 5-second rule, the 10-minute rule, things like that have really helped me overcome some of these things. And if you can start to implement those and practice them regularly, guess what? You're going to create a new neural pathway, a new neural circuit. And then eventually, with lots of practice, it's going to become a well-worn path, just like the one that you're already on, keeping the things the same and continuing these patterns that are not serving you. So it does take time, but with consistency and with practice, it gets super easy. And so a lot of people will say like, well, how are you so consistent? How do you get right back on track after, things in life happen, whether it's a vacation or something going on with my kids or whatever? Well, it's because I have practiced it for a really long time. I've created that new circuit. My brain really knows no other way at this point. And that can be you too. It's just a matter of time under tension, right? Like how many times have you had to do it? How many times have you implemented that practice? It wasn't easy, and it sure as heck didn't happen overnight. So, if you can start to understand that many of these things all along our fitness and wellness journey are going to have to do with consistency. And I say time under tension because I often say that in my workout videos where it's like, we're working our muscles. It's time under tension, and we're putting tension on our muscles, things like that. Very, very similar concept. The other thing that I think is really important in all of this, and if you've listened to some of my episodes, you've heard me say this before, and you probably are like, okay, yeah, we get it, is being intentional. Like approaching everything that you do with intentionality. So what is your intention behind a case of the I deserve it? It's like, are you truly celebrating something? Is the way you're celebrating serving you? Does it serve you? Does it serve your goals? What is your intention behind scrolling social media? What do you hope to get out of it? Because if it's relaxation, if it's to decompress, well, I hate to tell you this, but you're in the wrong place. Social media is actually incredibly stimulating, but it's subconsciously so, right? Like in the moment it feels mindless, but truly it's not. It's all sorts of input into our brain. And I'm telling you that just as much as I'm telling myself that, because it's something that I struggle with myself. But the busier you are as a person or in life or as a mom or as a working professional, whatever it is, the busier you are, the more intentional you need to be. And if you can create a life where everything that you do is rooted in intentionality, you're going to see yourself just, take your success to the next level. And right next to that intentionality is that self-talk, that self-coaching. What are you saying to yourself? So you catch yourself in the act of these self-sabotaging behaviors. So you identify them. Okay, Lindsey, you're in the pantry. Like you got on the scale this morning. This is like true real life. I get on the scale in the morning. It's like, ooh, my weight's down. Boop, boop. Oh, now I'm just going to act like a jackhole the rest of the day and eat all like the things that I know I'm not supposed to. It is just the dumbest pattern that I engage in. I mean, I don't do it all the time, but yes, it does happen. And so stopping myself in my tracks and going, whoa, girl, what are you doing? Like, if you want to celebrate the fact that you've been really consistent and been doing well, okay, do that, but do it intentionally. Like, have a treat that you're really looking forward to, or, treat yourself to some self-care, or, go buy yourself a new pair of shoes. I don't know, whatever it is. But being intentional about what it is you are kind of congratulating yourself for versus wrecking your progress, right? So if you struggle with self-sabotage, please know that you're not alone. I strongly encourage you, if you haven't already, go listen to the most important skill that I learned on my fitness journey episode. It's really, really good. Some really strong ideas, strategies on things that you can say to yourself that are going to help propel you forward versus pull you backward. Create some of those new neural pathways that are going to eventually form and help you more easily get to your goals. Because once they're in place, you don't have to do that mental gymnastics that it takes to get them there. But just know that it's going to take time. Know that you're going to mess up. That's what makes you human, right? It's not going to be this like linear, easy path. Just like weight loss isn't linear. Life just isn't linear, period. So starting to realize that it's almost never black and white. Much of this is very gray. And so learning to kind of roll with that and be flexible and be able to pivot, really important. And you can do that if you approach all of these things from a place of intentionality, and then using your tools of self-talk and self-coaching to help you overcome some of these barriers that we tend to experience along our, I'll call it wellness journey. So if this episode resonated with you, please share it on your Instagram stories. Tag me at Lindsey Bush. You never know who might need to hear this message. I appreciate it so very much. If you have any comments, please send me a message on Instagram. I would love to hear from you. I would love to connect with you. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to talking to you on the next one. Love y'all. Bye.